You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hit it.
Got the truth in my pack. Leftist lies and globalists, I'm pushing them back. From the saloon to the airwaves, I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big guns creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands. But I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Leftist judges twisted, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rainbow shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. I've walked the line, 41 years, badge on the grind, now I'm on the air, my voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall, sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight, torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas static, hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk, Bobcat, rules will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct, where I'm broadcasting in a free state right now from my very own little studio on the SHR Media Network. Now, I happen to be this guy. I am your conservative Sherpa, and this will tell you exactly who I am. I am the person who guides you through the insidious maelstrom of Demorat, leftist, and globalist lies and chaos and deceit and tyranny and betrayal. I'm that guy. And I also want to say this. Okay, I just checked maybe 10 minutes before the show. And we have 974 YouTube subscribers. And that means that we are only a short distance. That's we had a 31 subscriber explosion basically just in one day. Now, SHR just happens to be 26 subscribers away from the magic 1,000 subscribers. Now, Sackhead Sean has pounded the crap out of all means and makes and models and fashions of AI, and has said and constantly asked each one of them, okay, in terms of YouTube, is there a magic mark by which things tend to loosen up just a little bit on YouTube? And the answer is yes. Apparently, most every AI that's been pounded has said, yeah, you know what? You get to the 1,000 subscriber range, and it appears that in the history of YouTube, things kind of become a little bit easier for you. So please subscribe tonight. We just need essentially a handful to get to 1,000, 26. And today is Thursday. It's February the 5th, the year of our Lord, 2026. There will be another show, another SHR show on tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 o'clock Eastern. And that's Jersey Joe, the Ever of Common Sense. And with tonight's show and tomorrow night's show, Friday night, we hope that we may be getting a little bit closer to that 1,000 mark. Also, when you go to the SHR Media YouTube channel, by the way, that's the only place that you can find the official chat role, the official chat room, which looks like this, because I keep my chat rooms nice and clean and buttoned up. But when you go to the SHR Media chat room, if you would, click that bell. And that means that allegedly, because I never get sent them. Maybe you guys will be different. But if you click the bell, allegedly, per show, then that means that you'll get sent notifications about when that show is to appear. Now, tonight is kind of an experiment, a strange experiment. It's kind of going on in the background. You won't notice it that much until I get to a particular portion of the show. And I'm trying a new camera, and people are saying, BZ, you're so damn ugly. Why would we need another camera for you? And the answer is, of course, you don't need another camera for me. Oh, by the way, I should tell you, tonight's topic is this. I'm going to have a ton of happy stories tonight because there really are quite a few. And when I can, I like to bring happy stories, positive stories to the show, and positive stories that, of course, the American media maggots certainly don't want to tell you about or reveal to you. But then after I get to some of those, we'll be going back to there is a rather astounding transformation going on right now. And it's not just this guy or gal or whatever the hell that is, but there's a transformation in the world of trannies right now that is fairly staggering. Now, those of us who are conservative have wanted to see the cessation of the mental and chemical and physical butchery of children, which is what this is, making trannies out of kids just because. And we've wanted that for quite some time. And it appears that finally that transmogrification is what I was trying to say, is actually going on right now. And it's motivated, in my opinion, by the most base of motives, but, you know, ... I don't really give a shit, because as long as it occurs, I don't care. But what is the biggest, basest motivation of all in the United States? What's the biggest thing that can tend to get people to change behavior? Well, in BZ's world, there's no problem that can't be solved with either vodka or a throat punch. So let's say I don't want to go for vodka. And let's say that my knuckles are hurting right now, so I'm not particularly interested in a throat punch. What's the other kind of motivation that you would customarily find for, I don't know, corporations, individuals? Money, honey. Money. And we're seeing that motivation now. And it's starting with lawsuits. But there's a history to this which predates what went on this week and also the previous 2 weeks. So I'll be bringing that information to you as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't go here and say that, have we got some cool swag for you? And no, I'm not making any money on this. And we're not making any money on this just yet. But the day is early. The night is early. You're early. We're all squirrely. And I'm still drinking vodka. But there are cool things to get in the SHR Media shop. And if you go to, now this is through Mission Ready Men. This is through Mission Ready Men Briefing, Earl Jackson's Mission Ready Men Briefing. And this is through the SHR Media shop there, missionreadymen.com/collection, meaning this cool stuff. And like I said last show, Tuesday night, wonderful show. I would highly recommend to all ages, all people, all kittens, all cats, all chicks. Anyway, 250 Reasons shirt right there. Super cool. Edge of Liberty shirt. Way cool. SHR Media mug. This thing is really cool. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't gotten mine yet. I ordered one of everything. And I haven't gotten mine yet, but when I do, I will show all of this to you guys so you can see the quality that is inherent in all of this cool stuff. And just by looking at that mug, I can see that it's probably a metal mug. Down here, Mission Ready Men. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? BZ, your conservative Sherpa. You need 3 or 4 of those. Then there's the Ever of Common Sense right here and a generic SHR Media shirt right there. And that's what we've got in the shop for right now. Yeah, you want to buy an SHR Media hoodie? Okay, that's up to you. I like my hoodies to zip. This just goes over the top. But again, they don't have a hoodie here for Omar the Tent Maker size or in Omar the Tent Maker size. So go there and get your very limited cool swag from SHR Media. Now, having said that, let's continue on. This is the show. This is Jake. And this was taken this afternoon. But here's where the intriguing stuff comes in. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this off. I hope I do. I hope I can. I think I can. Just cross my phalanges and let's see what happens. Because I may have created the first time ever Jake live action cam. And look, I want to tell you there's movement, there's action. There he is right there. Underneath let me get my knee out of there for God's sake. Anyway, there's Jake sleeping under the studio desk. And look at the action. You can see the occasional twitch, maybe a whisker movement now and then, perhaps a twitch to the leg. And that's about as much action as we're probably going to get out of Jake tonight. Still in all, it was the Jake action cam. Now, when he's in the studio, He usually right around this time, he's CP time someplace else. But right now, he happens to be under the desk. So I figured out, okay, let's see if you can rig up a camera. Let's see if maybe you can rig up the old camera before you got this new camera. And by God, I made a few tests, and this moron can actually make a camera work and attach it somehow to the show. Listen, for me, that's an achievement. That's an amazing achievement. About 16 minutes after the beginning of the show, I'm going to start now with some things about how did we get here? Where is this going? And I will get from here, which will probably take the rest of the half hour, until the beginning, the bottom of the hour, and then up from there, we'll go through happy stories because, my God, there's a ton. And then we will end up going back to the original reason d'etre for tonight's show. There really is a transformation going on. And I'll give you a little bit about the history of that tonight and how it started, why it started, and where it seems to be going right now. Because part and parcel of doing happy stories here in the Saloon is showing to everyone who wants to see that it's possible. Wait a minute. I saw for a moment a movement. And of course, when I put him back on the camera, he stops moving. Thanks, mister. But he is CP time. All right. It's part and parcel of where are we going right now. And I indicate happy stories. And we've gone from a societal movement that has been diminished in some fashion by people on the right, conservatives, and leftists are doing their very, very level best to make sure that this stuff all comes back. But it's a war. And I must tell everybody, it is a war. It's an actual war. Make no mistake about it. And the thing that kind of makes me question stuff is what's the part that Republicans are playing right now? Yes, I will acknowledge things are changing. Yes, I will acknowledge that things are even changing on the tranny front. And when things are changing, like I'm going to be showing you later on in Happy Stories, that's part of the story. But it's a war that Republicans must be fighting. And this is a war. This is nothing more than what I would term a moral inversion. It literally is good versus evil. Now, you can speak to people, and I have spoken to them, and after working for 41, almost 42 years as a cop, I know for a fact that there is evil on this planet, and it frequently takes the place of bipedal units. Humans can be fundamentally evil, and there are leftists, I swear to God, and Demorats and maybe some other people that don't believe that evil exists. Every human being is nice and wonderful and placed on this planet to be nice because that's their inherent state of being, to which I say, fuck no. No, that's not. So sadly, the Republicans still don't understand, a good deal of them still don't understand, that this is a war. It is good versus evil. This is an absolute moral inversion, and those of us who view normality around us, the reality of what is around us. I guess I can turn this off because I don't want to disturb him sleeping. He's got a light in his face. He doesn't need that. But what part of that don't so many people, including way too many Republicans, understand? You know, they have a history of caving to Demorats, of wanting to be loved. Well, newsflash, Republicans, conservatives, you will never be loved. They keep going along to try to get along. They yield bipartisanship and compromise to leftist anarchists who by way of muzzies and terrorists would prefer to see you dead. And they've come out many times and said precisely that. There are any number of examples that I've displayed to you on video for this show. They'd rather see you dead. And I won't get to it tonight. Maybe I will on Tuesday night. But there are any number of studies out saying that, okay, well, yeah, leftists are the most violent of the people of the two sides. And the most violent cohort or cadre of people within the leftists' schism are, per capita, are tranny units. Oh, BZ, you can't say that. It's a fact. Who are some of the worst school shooters? Certainly in recent history. So of all the people per capita, the number of tranny units arming themselves with guns and then going in and shooting people and or wounding, killing people are trannies. And why would that be? As I'm going to point out later on, because they're nuts. They've got screws loose, multiple screws loose. And people who support them have screws loose. People who think that men can become pregnant, boys can become pregnant, have screws loose. You do not belong on this planet. You are not in this reality. I'm not sure which one you're inhabiting, but it ain't this one. And it certainly ain't mine. So, if you're white, the goal is to have you replaced. Oh, BZ, you racist. Well, let me continue. If you're a black face of white supremacy, meaning you vote or sympathize with Republicans or conservatives or Trump supporters, the goal is to have you totally replaced. I say and continue to say, go back to King racist Brandon Johnson in Chicago, who continuously favors illegal invaders over the blacks that happen to be and have been citizens. They're first, number one, they're actual citizens of America. And number two, they've been citizens in Chicago for a long, long time, generations so. But he still favors illegal invaders over the people that have been living there for quite some time. So whites, you're replaceable. Blacks, if you don't think a certain way, oh, hell yeah, you're replaceable. If you're religious or you're evangelical, and evangelicals, you'd best get your shit together because you will be eliminated. The goal is to have you completely replaced as well, except Islam, because Islam will just kill you. They'll kill you dead. You will be borged by Islam. Or if you don't, then you'll be on the list. Let's see. This guy gone. Check. This guy gone. Check. This guy gone. Check. Oh, all of them infidels. Off with their heads. And yet, so many people who are alleged Republicans, even alleged conservatives, you still won't get out to vote. An example of that recently was in Texas. That's not the end of the world. And in terms of midterms, historically, the party in power in the Oval Office doesn't do that well. But the point is, there's no reason whatsoever that we can't do well if we just get out to vote. But it seems that there are way too many of you who just can't be bothered. Oh, it's not convenient. I'm going to be doing something else that day. I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out then. While leftists destroy this beautiful country and Western civilization itself, because when you embrace Islam and muzzies, the first thing you're saying to them is, I cede power to you. Now, I don't believe what you're saying, and you're saying you want to kill us, but that can't be wrong because there are no evil people on this planet. So come on. You push a few gays off of buildings. Who cares? Sacrifices have to be made, mister. That's out of Magnum Force, by the way. So what the hell is wrong with you people? What the hell is wrong with you people? I'm going to go over in the next 5 minutes this particular article that's right here. And this is endemic of a lot of the things that are already in progress and are part and parcel of the problems that we're encountering right now. This is from The Federalist, and it's written by a guy named Casey Chalk. And the headline says, because it's really small, and if you're looking at this on YouTube right now, you probably won't be able to clearly see a lot of the things that are up here that I display for articles and whatnot. And don't fret, fear not, wipe the sweat off your voluminous forehead. I will let you know what it says. Anti-ICE activism represents the suicide of Western civilization. Now, there's a guy named James Burnham, and he wrote this aphorism a whole bunch of years ago. And he said, liberalism is the ideology of Western suicide. And he wrote that more than 50 years ago. And the ideology right now, that shit is hard at work. Absolutely. So basically the article says, okay, what's the motivation behind stalking law enforcement? What is it inherently within you that drives people to go out and get in the way of law enforcement officers doing the jobs that they were trained to do, and the purpose of their being there in the freezing cold, after a couple of incidents have resulted in 2 people dying because, quite frankly, they were stupid, and other people getting injured. And if I get to it again, the article, there are articles in there saying that leftists have already said, you know what, if you're not willing to bleed and potentially die for our cause, then you don't belong here. Get out. You're just another one of them. So Burnham wrote this book called Suicide of the West. It's an essay on the meaning and destiny of liberalism. Okay. When I was in college, I read a lot of this crap. He wrote that book in 1964. And then a ton of books were out about that time. The Population Bomb, for example, by Paul Ehrlich, was saying, again, that's the early form of, we're all going to die. No, we're not. And we didn't. And it's been 60 or 70 years. We still haven't died. We're still here. Amazing. And then other books were written that I had to read and study in college when I myself was a young leftist. And still, a lot of that stuff has occurred. A lot of it hasn't, well, particularly with regard to climate change. So leftists, basically, what he's saying is he's arguing that they accelerated civilizational collapse. And so when it comes to people who some quantify as being marginalized, Burnham says that the leftist feels like an indelible, often overwhelming sense of grief. The guilt of the liberal causes him to feel obligated to try to do something about any and every social problem, to cure every social evil. Note to humans, that's impossible. Can't be done. And that's called cathartic sympathy, or stupid sympathy, or suicidal empathy. Pick your phrase, whatever that phrase happens to be. Now, I'm BZ. You're in the saloon. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being in chat. Thank you to all the moderators. And I'll be coming back and addressing this article and a couple more things. We'll start with happy stories and then get to the meat of the matter.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log. Intrigue. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm back. It's the first half hour in. I'm BZ. I was talking about this article, and I'll get back to it in just a moment. Let me see if I can add this to the stage. We will illuminate the Mark I model. Look, it moves. It moves. It's actually moving. Thank God. And the creek has apparently risen, because this is Jake Action Cam, and you saw it there live. There was movement by Jake. We'll see how many more times he happens to move tonight. Anyway, what I was saying is that leftists are essentially the result of, well, poor breeding, number one, but also they're responsible for the coming death of civilization. And you can see it in the number of individuals, mostly white leftist females. And there's a long explanation for that. For God's sake, I had an entire show on why it is that white leftist females, those chicks be insane and shit. They're all emos, because leftists believe that human nature is fungible, and you can change it out. And all social problems can be solved through just, like more political programs and more, of course, more Greckles, more money, honey, and social engineering, and being forced into doing something you don't want to do that makes absolutely no damn sense whatsoever. And it means that people, marginalized people, such as criminals and illegal invaders, you can't hold them responsible. What the hell is wrong with you? Those criminals, those illegal invaders are from those terribly marginalized groups, and they require protection rather than legal prosecution. Just ask any leftist, and with luck, I'll be able to get to this video. There's a guy named Avi, I can't think of the guy's name, but he goes into various white neighborhoods and said, hey, what do you think of, shouldn't people be required to get ID to vote? And everybody predominantly said on the Caucasoid side, oh no, that's so racist. And then he went into a black community, and some of the people there said, I know where the DMV is to get my ID, and I know how to get an ID, and I know how to vote, and I have the internet, and I can get on the internet, and I can do all the same crap that you stupid white people can do, if not more, longer, and better. Oh no, we need to protect you because you require protection. You're too stupid, too ignorant to figure it out and suss it out for yourself. Basically, ask any leftist, and they'll tell you so. And that's what drives them out into streets, standing in front of cars, being armed. And I'm not saying that, according to Minnesota law, he was working against law because he didn't have an ID and he didn't have his card on him, his CCW card. But 2A people said, oh, that's immaterial. That's malum in se versus malum prohibitum. Okay, but why would you take a gun to a peaceful protest? That's what we've been told. They were nothing but peaceful protests. So Burnham wrote, liberalism is the ideology of Western suicide, except for, mercenaries and saints and neurotics. No one is willing to sacrifice and die for a progressive education, Medicare, humanity in some kind of a weird, unreal abstract, the United Nations, and a 10% rise in Social Security payments. And he said this way back in 1964. So here's what I will say in answer to that. Leftists and the agitators and themselves believe them truly to be saints and martyrs. But Burnham pulled back the curtain on all this crap and said that what they really are is men and women who are schooled in an ideology of self-hatred of their own culture and their own civilization and are deluded into making sure that they hasten its damn demise. Now, the end of his article here says they are to be pitied and prayed for. Well, it's me. So BZ says, oh, that's a load of bullshit. Because if you want to take down my country, you're going to have to fight myself and a lot of other people for it. I have these long things and I have little pieces of lead. And if you want to get Skippy and Froggy, I'm pushing 80. And at this point, super. CCL. Couldn't care less. Want to go ahead and do it? That's fine with me. Also, here's another very important article. And you tell me just how right this is. I have no idea where this is from. Anyway, the headline says, I'll read it for you because it might be really small and squinty, meaning that you're going to have to utilize squintaliciousness. Voter ID bill defeated in Senate by vote of 7 million to 53. This is from Washington. Suspicions arose in Congress after a bill to require voter ID failed in the Senate by a vote of 7 million to 53. Several senators expressed skepticism about the legitimacy of the vote, noting that there are only 100 senators and thus the total number of votes exceeded the total number of senators by several million. Wait, how can that be? Oh, I'm not quite sure. Hey, however, I think it's probably time for this, if I can find it. Yes, look, folks, I have found it. And it goes like this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
And because we were talking about dogs and because I like a good happy story, I'm going to put this up here first. So this is a happy story in terms of one, Dog was saved. And number 2, weapons grade stupid. I guess I could have made a section out of this tonight, but I don't have the time. This illustrates the difference between malum in se and malum prohibitum. BZ, what the hell do you mean? Okay, so what happened is this is a vet tech by the name of Dason Garner got charged after rescuing an abandoned dog during a snowstorm. And you're probably thinking to yourself, no, what? Okay, so what happened is this North Carolina vet was charged and charged and fired from her job after she rescued a dog that was abandoned in the cold winter weather. And it's really bitter cold in North Carolina right now because she failed to hand the pooch over to animal control. So she faces charges for keeping a so-called stray animal, failure to surrender, and interfering with law enforcement over the deal. So what she says is she was punished for an act of compassion by rescuing the pooch in the brutal conditions in the snow after a harsh snowstorm just whipped across a place called Wilson, North Carolina over the weekend. And she saw doorbell footage of some person, later identified as some person whose name I'm not going to mention, walking up to a neighbor's front porch, dropping the dog off on the front porch, and then running away. And so she said, I was trying to help a dog that was suffering and cold and in need. I acted out of compassion, instinct, and love for an animal that couldn't help itself. By the way, there's the person coming up to the door and dropping off the dog, just saying, I don't want you anymore. Here, find your own way in the snowstorm. And that was, by the way, during the time of a bomb cyclone, which just wreaked a shit ton of havoc all across the state. And so she took in the dog, she called animal control, and only to be told to bring the animal down for an investigation. So she said, no, I'm not going to do that. That with her expertise, she's a registered vet tech and knows what she's doing in the veterinary departments. She knew her home is going to be a safer place for the abandoned animal. She's a vet tech. She's a groomer. And she wouldn't stand a chance in a shelter because you and I both know that shelters are overcrowded right now with dogs. I can tell you that. It's nuts. Okay, the one chick that gave it up was charged with abandonment of an animal. Now, I don't normally cater or like leftist white chicks, but because she saved an animal, she's the exception to the rule. And yet she lost her job and she's charged. The happy story about this is that dog is still alive. And that is, to me, why it's a happy story. The other thing I want to add here that I want to make sure that you can get this and see it. The link to this will be in the SHR Media Rumble channel, my BZ Saloon Rumble channel, and it'll be under show links. All the stuff here tonight will be under show links. You can go here and find all the Epstein stuff that has been posted. This is called jmail.world.search. And just this page right here, some of the people that you can search, which are over on the left: Elon Musk, Ehud Barak, Ghislaine Maxwell, Michael Wolff, Larry Summers, Steve Bannon, Masha Bucher, Bill Gates, Noam Chomsky, Tom Pritzker, Alan Dershowitz, Al Seckel, Kimball Musk, Deepak Chopra, Ken Starr, Peter Attila, Jeremy Rubin, etc., etc., etc. So don't believe what other people say. Go find this stuff out for yourself. Now, I got this link from Sean, and I tried to put it up on X. And X said, no. So then I put it up on Getter, and Getter said, sure, that's fine. So I stole it and nabbed it from Getter so that I could put it up for you tonight to see. If you want to make your own investigations, here's one of the multiple places that you can go in order to do that. That's a happy story because I'm a fan of transparency whenever you can possibly do that. Here's another happy story that I want to remind everybody of. This occurred a couple of days ago. Judge rejects the bid to end Trump administration's immigration enforcement surge in Minnesota. To which I say to the people that, oh, that's so terrible. Because, you know, I'm not juvenile at all. Here's another story. It's like, it's a happy story, but leftists hate this. They radiate hate over this. White House tout study showing lowest murder rate in major cities in, drumroll please, 126 years. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt on Thursday touted a study showing that the murder rate in major U.S. cities dropped its lowest level in more than 125 years. Now, why do leftists hate this? Because the National Guard is still screwing up the streets and the screeds in D.C. D.C. murders went... And even Mayor Bowser said, this is weird. I grudgingly admit that I like it, but it's weird. And all around the various leftist urban rat cages, murderers are getting put away and murders are plummeting. Well, let's see, BZ, why could that possibly be? It couldn't possibly have anything to do with the fact that a greater presence in lurks might tend to indicate to people that if you want to crimming right here and right now might not be the best thing for you to do. And the fact that we are hauling a shit ton of illegal invaders off the street. Oh, but you're interfering with our ability to kill each other and run drugs and gangs and human trafficking and shit. Yeah, I know. Ain't that terrible? That is so wrong. That's disgusting on its face. Here's another story. You know, I'm going to say this. When you lose CNN, you might think that you got a little problem. Go.
So how much power, and we're talking about influence here, do they have on the GOP, especially over the long run?
Yeah, over the long run. That's what I think is so important here. And it's not just about Donald Trump. It's about the Make America movement. Again, that's what we're talking about. Make America Great Again movement. And it is as powerful as it has ever been. Because I want you to take a look here. GOP.
Whoa. Hold up on that damn car wash, Skippy. It's more powerful now than it's ever been. And this is CNN. I can't do a James Earl Jones voice. Dude had just about the best voice on the planet, except for Don LaFontaine. And those of you who know about vocal artists, you know who the hell that is. Go CNN.
Who view MAGA favorably. 2 years ago, when Donald Trump was running for term number 2, it was 74%. Today, look at this. It's 78% of Republicans who view the Make America Great Again movement favorably. So
stop. So imagine what would occur were the Republicans who don't get out to vote, or the Republicans who oppose Trump. What do you think might happen if they stopped their opposition, supported their president, and we could get these people out to vote in droves? What might you suspect the results would be? They would be great. They would be in our favor. Let's do something about this too. So I'm not, well, yeah, come on. I know why this hasn't happened, but I'm going to ask you right now. I'm going to posit to you. Have you heard about this? And then number 2, do you think this is an indicator of more to come? Until yesterday, I hadn't heard of this through the venue of any American media maggots. And number 2, I do think this is a precursor of things to come. So let me explain it a little bit, Lucy, before I get to the video. So the U.S. Attorney in Puerto Rico happens to have seized rigged voting machines and turned them over to Tulsi Gabbard and the ODNI. Now, why is it that you think that Tulsi Gabbard would show up? I don't know. Let's just throw this out there in the ozone. Why do you think possibly that Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, who the NSA, the CIA, and the DIA, they're under her? Why would she show up in Fulton County? And why would she show up in Puerto Rico? You'll see the nexus between these two, most assuredly, most Ricky Tick. Because the reason the DNI would go to Fulton County in Georgia is because it's suspected that an undermining influence occurred in the United States or also from outside actors, as in foreign countries. That's a shocker. How could that possibly occur? Well, let's go back to Puerto Rico. So, a person named Emerald is confirming what she's been holding for a bunch of time and hinting at since 2025. There's a secret task force that was headed by this Puerto Rico U.S. Attorney, Stephen Muldrow, working with DHS, the FBI, and the ODNI, Tulsi Gabbard. And they have electronic voting machines that were used in Puerto Rico's 24 elections, machines that reportedly failed at over 70% of polling stations. But, you know, that digital voting, that is foolproof. Let's just play the damn video, shall we? I'll play some of it because it's 8 minutes, and I'm not going to play the full 8 minutes here, for God's sake. But just a taste of what's going on, a smattering, just a tip of the tongue on the, yeah, that's a shit ton of tongue corruption right there.
Truth on for some time now, but we can now reveal that a secret team led by the United States attorney in Puerto Rico seized rigged voting machines some time ago that was used in recent elections on the island that had turned them over to Tulsi Gabbard in a joint investigation.
Okay, stop. I knew I was going to have to do this. That all that does is just to verify to you that I'm not making this crap up. But I knew that I would have to stop it because with headphones on my ears and that whiny little cringy voice playing inside my brain housing group right now is enough to give my Meniere's and make my very head do this, and I don't want my head to do that. So I can't. I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. I can't listen to high-pitched, little whiny female voices anymore, no matter whose side you're on. But essentially what that says is, hey, kids, stand by. I firmly believe that more stuff is coming. Here's a happy story. Happy for me, because I discovered that my gas doesn't come from any of these places. California gas, oh, by the way, if you don't know, the New York Post has expanded into Califailure, and it now has its own site called the Califailure Post. And this is from February 4th, yesterday. California gas prices expected to soar as Valero shutdown worsens oil crisis. And you know what that means? That also means that it's really bad for Oregon, too. Because Oregon Governor Tina Kotex has done her very level best, like Gavin Newsom, to make sure that oil companies move themselves, their headquarters, their organizations, and they take their pipelines out of the state. Oregon is on the cusp of being in the same plight for Califailure in terms of they anticipate, because Oregon doesn't know where the hell they're going to get their gas from right now. My state gets its gas from adjacent states east. My state doesn't get its gas from leftist fucknozzle states like Washington or Oregon or California. So they're all in this strange linkulus together. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm untouched. I couldn't care less. And that's a happy story. You want to be in California? You want to be in Califailure? You want to vote for all that crap? Okay. Those are called hashtag consequences. Nothing more than that. Then Will I be able to get to these before the top of the hour? Probably not. But I'm going to try my damnedest. I tell you, it's the age of Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary. In the past couple of days, he truly has been making Demorat and leftist brains do that. And there's a story that's coming in here, and I've said this for quite some time, is that I don't think there's anyone in politics, and you'll hear it either before or after the break. I don't think there's anyone in politics who can open their mouth larger than Maxine Waters. So basically, she says to the F8 Crusader, dude, you got nothing on me. You got nothing on me. So let's talk about Scott Bessent. So there's a paper called The Economic Impact of Climate Change. And this paper was beloved by the 46 administration, of course. Not so much now. And it had a ton of errors in it. It was used to justify all kinds of fleecing of us, the American taxpayer. And now OMB, Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, has made sure that we are no longer fleeced anymore. And here's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent testifying about the U.S. economy. Scott, go.
We also recently announced the formation of new FSOC Household Resilience Working Group that will focus on American households' financial condition. American households across the country, especially in my district, which is a working class district, Texas 29, have experienced firsthand the destabilizing effects of climate disasters.
Stop. You want me to tell you why? This is an easy one. I can field this with my eyes shut. It's because Texas bought in to that stupid bullshit about renewable energy and went all in on solar panels and these big wind turbine pieces of crap. And then here's something weird. A few years ago, Texas had a huge ice storm. And because they weren't relying on reliable energy sources like power plants fueled by oil or perhaps nuclear or other sources, it all stopped and they lost their energy and they lost their power and people literally froze in Texas. So, comment added to this like you'd see in in an X post, like community note from BZ.
Insurance companies are leaving Texas, California, Florida, and many other states because of growing climate risks. I myself have felt the impact.
Because you're stupid and replaced reliability with expensive, non-productive, non-consistent crap.
My constituents feel, Mr. Secretary, what, if anything, are y'all doing to address the risk to households of mortgages and other forms of credit becoming unavailable in certain regions of the country due to climate change?
Again, Congresswoman, are you familiar with KLW 24?
No.
It was the base for everything that was done with climate and with all the proposed climate legislation, and it has been discredited. So everything that FSOC previously did based on climate has been discredited.
Who discredited it?
Nature magazine has retracted the economic commitment of climate change more than 18 months after first learning that the paper was fatally flawed, with authors acknowledging that its errors are too substantial for a correction.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like Elvis Presley. And it's like, thank you. Thank you very much.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRN You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right, you can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, Mikhail, stop. I want to hear Sackhead Sean interview an amoeba. Go.
11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence, as do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I'm BZ. Let's take that off. Oh, dog action cam. Did you see that? There's action in the dog action cam right here, live and direct. On the SHR Media Network. And that's my buddy Jake, who is so let's just go back here. I don't know why that kills me. It does. It slays me. Dog action cam. Now, what I need for dog action cam is I need to resurrect Don LaFontaine to do some kind of an intro for me, like in a world where Jake sleeps under the studio desk. Gosh, if only I could bring Don back. I told you. All right, I better turn the light off so I don't irritate the poor little lad underneath. I told you that I like Scott Bessent. So here's Scott saying one of the favorites, my most favoritist phrases that I've heard him say in a long time. And I have to admit, I'm putting this video up there just to hear this phrase. I almost don't care about the context of it. I just want to hear him say, Senator, it may be a bit nuanced for you. Okay, go.
Senator, it may be a bit nuanced for you, but what President Trump is referring to is the media saying that the affordability crisis was generated by this administration when it was you and President Biden who destroyed the buying power of the American people. So there is at
9%, inflation was 9%, and you're bitching about, I don't know, 3%, 4% right now? Yeah.
Affordability crisis, and you were front and center in it.
So let me make sure that I understand. Donald Trump is not saying that affordability, what's happening to families right now, is a hoax?
He is saying that trying to lay the blame at this administration rather than the Biden-Warren economy is a hoax.
Okay, stop. Do you see what he did there? The Biden-Warren economy. And that's how you verbally fight these fucksticks. Because they all want to see you dead. They all want to kill you dead. And it's no more complicated than that. And like I say, I threw that in there just because Pocahontas is a moron, number one. And number two, Senator, it may be a bit nuanced for you. Am I too easily entertained? Perhaps I am. Now, let's go back to this graphic that I inserted not terribly long ago where, geez, if I can find it. Oh, I try to find, there we go. There's the intake for an F8 Crusader. And here on stage is Maxine Waters. Go.
Consumers and on housing or affordability and putting the economy at risk. Yes or no? You don't have to explain.
Representative Waters,
will you be the voice? Will you be the voice? Will you be the voice? Will you be the voice of reason? Will you be the voice of reason?
A study
yes
from
no?
Wharton University
reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
Was a mass unfettered immigration.
Mr. Chair, will you let him know that when I ask
time does belong to
the housing
woman.
10 and 20 million immigrants.
Can you
shut the housing stock?
Okay, so she just told Scott Bessent to shut up. That's weird. He never told her that. How weird is that?
Of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentleman's time has expired.
No, my time.
Did you hear what he said? Perhaps you didn't. Let me go back and wind this. It's like, okay, I have the tape. Let's rewind it. Go.
Some level of dignity.
Gentleman's time has expired.
No, my time.
Can you maintain, he asks to Maxine Waters, Maxine F8 Crusader Waters, can you maintain a level of civility? And the apparent answer is, well, no, she can't. How do you ever close that? How would you ever close that? Is that possible? Is that a physical possibility? The answer clearly is, well, no, not really, by the way. Maxine Waters, the person that doesn't even have a house in her own district, but that's okay because it's Maxine Waters. Here's another thing that I bet you didn't hear about, which is a happy story not because of what it does, but because of what is exposed. Watchdog Group releases a scathing report on Rashida Tlaib's alleged ties to terrorist groups, warning of potential risks. Do you think so? Potential risks? So the risk is her financial history says her campaign apparatus poured a bunch of cash into anti-Israel activists, about $600,000 between 2020 and 2025 to unbought power, a consulting firm headed by Rasha Mubarak. Hey, does that name kind of sound familiar? And also, Mubarak has been affiliated with the Council of American Islamic Relations, CARE, well, let me just come out and say that CARE is a terrorist group. This is going to go somewhere too. See, all of the rats, all of the muzzy rats and the leftist rats and the commie rats and the Marxist rats are being revealed. And this is a happy story because there was a purge recently at the Washington Post. And the Washington Post basically just removed the entire sports department from the Washington Post. And so fired, I think it laid off at least a third, if I'm not mistaken, of its various newsrooms. News, like newsrooms, air quotes. Because actual journalism hasn't come out of the Washington Post in probably a decade, with a few exceptions, maybe 20, 30 years. There have been a few exceptions now and then, but those are the exceptions and not the customary rule. Because the dealio is there are only an actual handful of journalists who still exist in the nation. I can think of Catherine Herridge. I can think of John Solomon. I can think of Susan Katz-Keating. There are some others that don't come to my brain immediately, but they're out there. Not many. Maybe as many as I have phalanges on my two hands right here. And that's about it. These people now that pass for journalistas are nothing more than basically ignorant little pablum-headed juveniles bleeding that they're no longer allowed to piss on the faces of the true journalists before them. And so let me play this. You won't be able to see it, but here they are. They're protesting.
Hey, we do. Who makes the post? We do. Who makes the post? We do. Who makes the post? We do.
Who has any knowledge of history? You don't. Who has any knowledge of what passed before? You don't. You all came out of the same university. You all came out of the same headspace. You all vomit up the same terrible fecal material again and again and again. And it should be no shock whatsoever that your hemorrhaging readers, your hemorrhaging advertising, you're not making money, but that's not the goal. I mean, people should create newspapers and people should be able to read newspapers for free and they shouldn't cost anything. There, good. You should be able to work for free too. Why not? Hey, because if you like communists and communism and nothing belongs to you at all, moving on. This is from the White House. This is a story from whitehouse.gov. I'll just read the running out of time, so I'm just going to hit the high portions of this. New milestone in Operation Metro Surge. 4,000 plus illegal invaders removed from Minnesota streets. And this is reprehensible because you are removing and arresting and deporting the spice. This is what they depend on. Tuesday night show, the spice must flow. You are interrupting the ability of the Demorats to keep control and power by harnessing all the money in perpetuity. That's the only reason for that. Whites need to be replaced. Disloyal blacks, anybody that's disloyal, a POC, you need to be replaced. Oh, and you are going to be replaced. It's not just whites. Whites first. Duh. But the funny thing is that the whites that are talking about replacing whites are the whites that are not advocating for themselves first to be replaced. Can't possibly understand why. And then you have CNN that talks to, this is another happy story. You have CNN that talks to Jacob Fry, and apparently he's lost CNN too, because this is CNN actually, I know, I hope you're sitting your ass down right now. CNN occasionally asks a what? A what? a follow-up story.
It is worth noting that during the Obama years, the Hennepin County Jail actually had a policy where they let an ICE agent keep an office there and allowed them to talk to immigrants.
No. That's exactly what the Sacramento County Jail did back in the 80s, because I worked there. And at the end of a night shift on a graveyard, the Border Patrol people would come in and say, how many people do you have that you suspect are illegals? And I, at the booking window and the booking desk, had to say, okay, I think it's this, and I parse out the papers to him. And then that guy's job was to go up onto the various floors, talk to these people individually, and then he would make the determination as to whether or not they would proceed with discharge papers on that individual, and were they illegal invaders and did they need to go?
Policy has clearly been, under a Democratic president, what now the Trump administration is asking for. I mean, big picture, do you think it's good policy for the jails to follow an ICE detainer and hand someone over if they've committed a crime? And again, this only happens after they've served their time.
Let's wait for the answer.
For whatever crime they may have committed against the people of Minnesota.
I mean, look, you're asking all the right questions here. And while I don't have full expertise in how the operations at the jail are conducted, again, that's not our jurisdiction. What I would say is that there are mechanisms to do this lawfully.
It is worth noting that.
Okay, do you sense something here akin to a Mark I Model 1 change in I'm not going to fight you all the time, because I finally realized that I cannot fight you all the time? Or do you think, which is what I believe, is this is complete posturing? This is nothing but posturing and trying to make it look as though, well, I'm not the horrible people seem to believe I am. I can be a human being too. I can have just I can grab, I don't know, if this is reality. Okay, it's really a dog biscuit. But if this is reality, I can grab onto it for a couple of seconds and then I have to throw it. It's like, stay away from reality. Also, I want to put this up here too. This was part and parcel of the first story. Washington Post cuts a third of its staff in a blow to a legendary news brand. Excuse me for a moment while I cough. Sorry, that was a hairball. My dog has been licking me too much. Anyway, that was part and parcel of a happy story. And I'm just about ready to go into the big story for the night. This is a deliciously happy story. And why would that be, BZ? Because I played this video 2 weeks ago, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. Don't remember which day. It's immaterial at best. Anyway, remember the guy that said that, I'm fighting you, and I'll kill you. I kill you dead. Kyle, whatever the hell his name was. And it's immaterial too. And it turns out that this guy, I'm going to shoot ICE, which everybody and their sister and brother reported to the FBI. I did. I said, hey, look at this guy. I was like, at FBI, enter. So, hey, would it shock you to know that this fucker was a cross-dresser? So I'm going to beat the crap out of you when I get through cross-dressing and making up my lips and putting lipstick here and piercings all over me, because I am a fucked up Jesse. Because he is. All right, so here's the happy story. Okay, so the Minneapolis apartment complex, where he's called Antifa Kyle, where Antifa Kyle was living. He refused to open the door for DHS. Who could possibly have seen that coming? Despite having a criminal warrant in hand, so agents broke the glass and they entered anyway. And of course, a bunch of leftists started screaming about it. And basically what this proves to you is, if Schumer somehow gets his way, and he somehow is able to force ICE to obtain judicial warrants for 20 plus million illegals. And he knows full well, and all the Demorats and leftists do, know that this is a physical impossibility, because that is why that's their demands. Demorats are still, in a perfect world, they're still going to go out of their way to obstruct and impede. And that's why I say originally, Republicans, you stupid cunts, you still don't know how this works, do you? You still don't know how this operates. You still want to be loved. You still want to seek bipartisanship and compromise. And you don't realize that ship has absolutely sailed so long ago. And I go back to the beginning of the show where I said, you still don't understand. This is war. This is literally good versus evil. This is literally a moral inversion. You want to go along to get along, and you're trying to negotiate with people who truly do want to see you dead, period. They want to see you replaced or dead, or replaced, then dead. I don't know. Take your pick. Choose. And so here's Antifa Kyle. And if you look, I'll try to win big in this so that you can see it. His sweatshirt said, "I'm Antifa." I'm Antifa. See, because it's illegal to overcome force. You should just do whatever leftists want you to do. And hey, look at this. Do you see any bleeding on the face of Antifa Kyle? I don't. Do you see him not able to walk down the stairs? I don't. It looks to me like he's in pretty good shape. He is. And yet, wasn't Antifa Kyle saying that not only would he's going to fight anyone and everyone that's going to try to interfere with him, but he'll kill you. He'll kill you dead. Okay, note to cops, we've known this for a long time. When anybody threatens you and says, if there's a potential interaction with me coming up in the future and I say I'm going to kill you dead, we may go in hard and heavy. Because what's that saying? It's similar to past performance is the best predictor of future behavior or lack thereof. And why, yes, that would be true. That's why that's a happy story. Dude didn't fight. He's a cross-dressing pussy piece of shit. Now, if there's any part of that sentence that you didn't understand in chat, let me know and I'll repeat it again. Oh, there it is. So yes, he's a cross-dressing pussy piece of shit. Here's another happy story. This is the final one. Then we're going to get to the meat of the matter for tonight. And the meat of the matter is this. There is a transformation occurring right now. Not about to occur, but it has already occurred. This Ryan Routh dude got sentenced. This dude, if you remember, this guy's a nutcase. He's the weird thin guy that was discovered in an attempted assassination. He said the craziest crap. And also, so yesterday, he gets sentenced to life in prison plus 7 years after his 2024 assassination attempt against OMB on OMB's West Palm Beach Golf Club in Florida. And if there were ever another U.S. Secret Service failure of imagination, except for that one agent, that was certainly it, following on the heels of the Butler, Pennsylvania attempted assassination in July, I believe it was. President Trump, about an inch or so or less from a president assassinated in public across the nation and the world on live television. So that's a happy story. Now we're going to get into the situation where I was talking about, and that's this. Things are changing. Things are definitely changing. Before I go there, because these are the people that, I'm a girl now. Well, you may not be a girl for much longer. By the way, before I forget, some people who wondered where I was last week or week before, I was getting stitched up, took out part of my jaw. I have cancer, melanoma. So kids, stay out of the sun. And I also want to say this. This was my partner in District 4 for quite some time, and he stayed at my house for about a year and a half from the home for wayward deputies after we were divorced. And my home sponsored 3 deputies, not including myself at one point. And my good friend Kent Smith passed away. And I'm just acknowledging his presence. There are so many stories that I could tell about him that are amazing and wonderful. He had 2 kids, a ton of divorces. I moved all his furniture and all his belongings, as I've said before, probably 7 times. There was a point where I could tell him exactly what he had in terms of property and in which box he could find it. So, God bless you, Kent. I miss you, buddy, already. So let's continue. This is the beginning, and it went actually before this. There was pushback that was coming that had come from across the pond a couple of years ago. And this first began with a doctor named Ethan Haim, and the Justice Department decided under 46 that they were going to prosecute him. So they ended up dropping the charges against him. He's a doctor in Texas, and he was charged for leaking trans care data. Okay, now a little bit of background. They charged him for illegally obtaining private information about patients that weren't under his care, and he leaked it, apparently, because it's okay if Comey does that. If James Comey, Jimmy the Leak Comey, it's okay if he does that as FBI director. But shame and damn everyone else who does anything even remotely like this. So this is a story that occurred back in January 27th of 2025. So he was found, his case was dropped. Okay. The prosecutors said that this guy, a 34-year-old surgeon, took the information and shared it to a conservative dude with intent to cause malicious harm. That's the quote of what the Texas Children's Hospital in Houston was doing. That happens to be one of the premier and largest pediatric hospitals, the quote finest. And he pled not guilty to 4 counts of wrongfully obtaining individual health information. And he said outside the courthouse that he had done nothing wrong. So he got released. He was facing up to 10 years in prison, a $250,000 fine if he was convicted, and then his case got dropped. And the reason it got dropped is because they couldn't go and prove beyond the shadow of a doubt. So that's where it starts. Now, if you think you may have created a bit of a crusader in Dr. Ethan Haim, yeah, you may have done that. That may have occurred. But here's most recently what kicked things off. It's this story. And would it surprise you that I'm going to tell you this story when I come right back?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Listen in to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a show equipped for bombast. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific, featuring a refreshing dose of reality. Jersey Joe fearlessly tackles the tough topics with no nonsense. Just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com, where you can hear the Reaver of Common Sense in action. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing's for sure. He always tells it like it is.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
Are you looking for bold, honest conversation about the issues shaping America? Well, let me welcome you to Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen, where we take you beyond the headlines. We dive into politics and culture, struggles of everyday life. It's raw, real, and unfiltered. If you're ready for truth with a punch, pull up a chair and join us. That's right, Unleashed 101, where real talk feels like home. Find us at unleashed101.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. We look forward to seeing you. Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the final half hour of BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's Thursday. It's February 5th, 2026. Oh my God. Thank God I don't write that. I actually use checks. I know. I also clean my own fish tank. I don't let anybody else do it. But in any event, thanks for being here tonight. Hello.
Behold the ancient, obese, conservative Sherpa in his natural element.
Yes.
A wondrous cornucopia of vibrant foliage festooned upon his face, various tiaras adorning that scabby pate, creating a veritable carnival of conservative cogitations and, some might posit, an overload of bulbosity, unrestrained. Please, citizens, avail yourselves of his liquid offerings as the saloon continues, unabated, like bad Bolivian gas station sushi.
And also, I want to remind everybody of this too.
Folks, this is BZ's final hour. Step up. Last call for alcohol.
And I take that seriously, as you well know. Hey, anyway, I think what I'm going to do for the rest of the show is I will finish out my raison d'etre for being here tonight. The trans transformation. I have a bunch of stories with regard to that, some videos and whatnot, many articles. And then once I'm done with that, then the show will wrap. At that point, if it means that I have to go into a little bit of overtime, then okay, I be jiggy with it and shit. Also, I want to thank KLRN's Rick Robinson for simulcasting the show tonight. And I also wish him the best in terms of trying to get some sleep. Dude, how do you do that? I don't know. I cannot do that. Anyway, we're going to continue. And I was beginning with this story. I started with Dr. Ethan Haim, who had a lawsuit dropped against Texas Methodist University, where a great deal of the butchering and the butchery of children was occurring in Texas. And then this was the story that kind of blew the trannies and the doctors that support them for cash out of the water. Detransitioner, this was only 5 days ago, but this caused not a ripple in the pond, not a little bit of a wave. This caused a tsunami of clenched sphincters in the medical communities all around the Boneyard land. Their sphincters were fucking watertight when they saw this because things changed. So this detransitioner, per the New York Post and any number of American media maggots that actually covered this story, because it was, oh, this is so evil. This is so, why did they win the lawsuit? Detransitioner wins $2 million against New York doctors who pushed a double mastectomy. So a 22-year-old woman who identified as a boy in her teen years, she got a $2 million decision in what people call a landmark lawsuit against New York doctors who went out of their way to push a double mastectomy on her when she was, wait for it, a minor. That's how long it took for the case to go to the tort venue, be heard, and then a decision to be issued. She was a minor. She was 16 years old when she was pushed and came to her senses and realized, you know, in retrospect, I was a 16-year-old and all kinds of adults took advantage of me. They shouldn't have, and it ruined my life. But the difference being between her and a lot of the other persons of tranny nature is that she didn't commit suicide. She's still here. And these are people who, in and of themselves, they inherently need psychological help, or they wouldn't want to do this stuff in the first place. You know, there's a SCOTUS jurist, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who couldn't define a woman. That one needs psychological help herself. And yet she sits on SCOTUS. DEI, there you are. Let me also display this. So the first massive crack in the dam occurred when the ASPS came out just 2 days ago. Today's the 5th. On February 3rd, this came out. The ASPS, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, said it's no longer going to support gender-related surgical procedures for minors while it conducts a comprehensive review of the scientific evidence. In other words, these shit sticks were conducting butchery. They were conducting the mental and chemical and physical butchery of children without having studies to prove, without any doubt whatsoever, that this was beneficial to them. And as I've said any number of times, particularly by insane leftist white chicks who got handed a boy and decided, well, I don't like a boy. I know, I'll just go Frankenstein on him and we're going to create a girl. And I'm going to tell you you're a girl. And I'm going to make you hear that you're a girl. And I'm going to dress you up in girly things. And because they're a kid, they're just one big brainless sponge and they'll hear, see, and accept anything you tell them. because they're kids and you're taking advantage of them. And I worked against adults like you motherfuckers when I was in child abuse, because men in particular, it's women in many of these cases, but men in child abuse, NAMBLA and others when I was working there, who decided that it was cool to take advantage of children because they had the mental capacity to do that and fill their brains with crap so that they became toys. And child abusers were age rangists, which means that their individual range of toy was between, I don't know, I'm just grabbing this out of the sky, between 9 and 12. If the child was younger than 9 or say older than 12, not interested. And that goes back to this. They didn't have any kind of real quality data, but they did it anyway. Why? Because it was a money maker, and it was trendy, and it was virtue signaling. Look what my doctors can do. Look what my hospitals do. Look what my medical groups do. Look what my medical organizations and HMOs do. We are in full alignment with this crap that you want us to be with. Okay, so what happened to first, do no harm? The so-called Hippocratic Oath. What happened to it? Well, it went out the fucking window for money, is what happened. And so now, after the ASPS came out, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons said, I don't think we're convinced of this too much anymore. Now, people are calling it an important move toward prioritizing patient safety and truly doing no harm, but you had no problem doing it before because it was the trendy thing to do. And that's when leftist thought prevailed, which it no longer does. How many times, I don't even have kids. Let's be honest. I don't like kids. I love my dogs. And when I had cats, I love my cats and my animals. I love my rescues. I'm not a big fan of people because people tried to kill me and almost did any number of times. So no, don't really like people. And yet I fought for people and worked for people. And I fought for kids because I thought, up to the time that they're an adult, they need to be protected. And all the parents that are refusing to protect their kids and submit them, push them into medical jeopardy like this, I don't get that mindset. I mean, on one hand, yeah, okay, I get it. People are evil. You can't tell me that man is inherently good. Bullshit. I don't believe that for a second. Here's something else I want to remind people of. Okay, remember when we were told, this is the Washington Post, maybe I should make this bigger. So this is WAPO saying, hey, look, the ASPS has just turned a 180. Huh, imagine that. What do you think put them there? Monnier, Greckles, Ducats, Quatloos. It put them right there. And all along, if you remember, we were being told, oh no, these surgeries aren't happening. That Texas hospital that Dr. Heim discovered, oh yeah, they were, and lying about it. And then the American media maggots and everybody else, people on the left were saying, oh, that's, you are a conspiracy tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracist. That's information. That's hate speech. And that shouldn't be happening. And you are mean and evil and every kind of ist and obe that we can possibly think of for trying to protect children. for trying to protect your children, because California was attempting to push all of this stuff on parents. Is your kid says he's a tranny in school? Well, you can't know. Not if you're a parent. No. Now, here's another thing. Okay. Remember when the ASPS changed their tune on February 3rd? Then the very next day, the AMA, the American Medical Association, changed its tune after the ASPS, stating its policy is not to recommend the abject butchery of children. And look, here's their statement. I have it for you to be able to see on screen. The AMA, which wields major influence as the nation's largest medical association, has reversed course on its position concerning transgender, gender-affirming surgical procedures in minors. In a statement to National Review, the AMA said, we're not going to go with it. Surgical interventions in minors should generally be deferred to adulthood. Okay. So I'll tell you what, I speak leftist and I'll translate. This is going to cost us our asses if we keep up with this crap. And so it's, lawyers call it a chilling effect. Well, if you do this, you will have a chilling effect on, yeah, that's the point. The point is to have a chilling effect so that you can save kids from being butchered. Now, you're 18, you're 21. You want to do that stupid shit to your own body. You want to ram a cannonball up your ass. Be right ahead. You're going to weigh about 15 pounds heavier after doing that, but you're an adult. You can do that. Leave kids the fuck alone. I fought you bastards. And I can tell you quite unequivocally, I got higher sentences of greater amounts of years while working child abuse than I ever did in homicide. My best case, at one point I had a case in robbery of 36 plus counts of a robber. And I had an 836-year sentence acquired out of that singular case. At one time in the state of California, I held the record for the number of years assigned to a convicted felon from robbery. My second happiest moment occurred in child abuse, when one particular individual who was accused of, I knew of 250 to 300 counts of child abuse, to what ended up starting as a 9-year-old to a 14-year-old. And then she aged out. And that suspect got over 800 years. And I have to tell you that, quite frankly, is something of which I am very proud. And that is one of the major accomplishments, one of several major accomplishments that I very quietly managed to achieve in my career. Here's another one, and this is why it's a happy story. Now, this is from Fox News. I'll show you the story in just a moment. But the reason that this is a happy story, but I didn't put it under the others, is because the theme now, as we've all seen, is the transformation is happening, and it's happening right now, right in front of our eyes. Thank God. So this is happening, a happy story, and it's because the floodgates have opened. I believe this is going to bring down entire and specific hospitals and hospital systems and group practices. It should. It may become, don't know quite yet, way too early. It may become impossible to kind of acquire tranny surgeries for those under 18 if for no other reason than the looming insurance issue, after the insurance companies have gotten a load of, what the fuck are these kinds of awards? You want a chilling effect? Oh, here, have an insurance company. That'll be a chilling effect for all you fuckers that are doing this stuff. The medical system pushed transgender surgery on kids, and now it's facing legal justice. Oh, ads. Sorry, I didn't have this all previously distilled. But again, this, like all the articles and all the other videos that are on my show, go to the Rumble, go to rumble.com and the SHR Media Group, and then look for BZ Saloon. You'll see all these articles, all these videos, all the links in the show links on Rumble, not under YouTube, not enough room. Go to Rumble if you want to find and see if, oh, BZ, are you talking out your butt? No, I'm not. I'm just going by articles that are already written and videos that are already immured. All you got to do is go find them on the internet, and that's my job. It's my job, man. And it's what I do. So this is going to create difficulties, I might say, in the future. And to that I reply, that is great news. That is absolutely wonderful news. And yet, doctors knew, they already knew that these patients, tranny patients, kids, they didn't just require one surgery. They required multiple surgeries, which is why this was so lucrative for doctors and hospitals. And yet adults decided that they were going to create an entirely new and very, very lucrative cadre of uneducated and mentally unprepared and mentally precarious victims by way of their already existing mental and chemical and physical butchery of children. And they all did this in order to, this is what makes it even more reprehensible. First, do no harm. No harm was the primary goal. Harm was without a doubt the primary goal. And it was done so that the bank accounts of those medical organizations, those hospitals, those hospital systems, those medical groups, the doctors themselves, the anesthetists themselves, the nurses themselves, because each one of these surgeries is very, very complicated. And revisions and problems and issues. You want to hear what the real deal was? Let's listen.
I mean, is it just, I mean, these surgeries take place. Are you saying that the benefits are minuscule on these types of surgeries, or they should never take place? Or I'm just curious.
I believe it was stated before that these are some of the surgeries that have the highest complication risks in any sort of surgical field. When I worked with the urogynecologists that were performing these surgeries, one of the things going in that they knew was that these patients were almost guaranteed to require multiple revisions.
And they still pushed it.
And some of those required revisions were to just handle basic functions of life.
And still they pushed it.
The ability to use the bathroom, the ability to defecate.
They still pushed it.
We have patients who were put on colostomy bags and put on, things that had to be attached to their body to
They still pushed it.
be able to just go through their daily functions. These are incredibly challenging procedures that have not only high complication rates, but when we first started developing these surgeries, in the first 70 patients, one of the children died from this type of surgery.
Because it was new, and they still pushed it. There was no consensus of how to do one particular surgery yet early on in this, and it led to complications. They still pushed it.
Going to have a vaginoplasty. They died from a massive septic infection.
You got one last question. So you're in St. Louis working at a clinic. So do they have specialized clinics that perform this, or does this happen in regular hospitals?
It's a really good question. So I worked in the St. Louis Gender Center at St. Louis Children's Hospital. This was so
Gender Center. This was very new
that we were actually pulling over the surgeons from the Differences of Sex Development Center. These were surgeons who were trained to care for patients who had intersex conditions. They were learning as we go.
Stop. And that's all I need to know. What about you? Kids were toys. They were little toys to be used for people who wanted to use them as toys, and then surgeons and adults and medical personnel who were simply using them as test beds to develop surgical methods. Now, I can think probably of some really worse things that occurred, maybe a French guillotine, but of children, you have to realize that you're taking a cohort of individuals. People who want to be trannies are in and of themselves mentally defective inherently. So the programming promotes tranny programming in kids. What? Where? Let me ask you this question. Where do you think one of the primary sources for this kind of information, and where do kids get this inculcated into their brains? How does that occur? From where? Let's listen
Is it
to Josh
that so
Hawley.
much of Netflix content for children promotes a transgender ideology? Almost half of your content for I'm talking about minor children now. I'm not talking about teenagers. Minor children promotes a transgender ideology agenda. I was just looking at the data here from your various series. And what concerns me is just 2 days ago, a jury in New York awarded a former transitioner $2 million because she said that her psychologists and others pressured her into, they pushed on her an ideology that proved to be extremely detrimental. I'm sure you know that in the UK, the National Health Service in the UK has said that they're not going to perform transgender surgeries or any longer so-called gender-affirming care for minors, including in counseling, because it is so incredibly detrimental. Our own HHS has come forward with similar findings this past year, yet if you turn on Netflix, you'll find that an enormous amount, and I say this as a parent with 3 young children, an enormous amount of your children's programming has this ideology and agenda in it. Is this an advocacy position for Netflix? Is this an ideological commitment you have? I mean, why is this?
It makes money, and it gets eyeballs from people who are demented anyway, and they make sure that their children watch. Let's listen.
Senator Hawley, Netflix has no political agenda of any kind.
Oh, bull. Go watch Netflix or Showtime or any of the other various cable or satellite channels, and you tell me if you believe that there's any agenda. They are completely agenda-free.
I would tell you that.
Well, then why is your children's program so full of this highly sexualized, highly controversial agenda? I don't understand it. It seems strange to me.
Respectfully, sir, it's because it's inaccurate. We have millions of hours of children's programming.
You're saying it's not there. You don't have trans. You don't feature trans characters, trans storylines, trans themes. It's not in your programming.
I'm saying we feature a wide variety of stories and programs to meet a wide variety of people's.
Why?
Okay, so this occurs because it still makes money. Now, one of the questions to be asked at the conclusion of the show is, will it continue to make money? Or will it continue to cost people? And I can only hope that it will continue to be very costly. And it will have what I call that chilling effect in a result. Now, remember the Minnesota lieutenant governor. And remember, it was she who was involved in all of these various signal chats, making sure that anarchists were able to violently block intersections, block ICE, etc. She was all anti-ICE. Well, so let's see. Might it possibly be her, like others, who are responsible for the rising suicides amongst little kids and children, groomed by adults who know better, or maybe not because they're that significantly brain damaged, to become, like I say, nothing more than toys. And then the regrets and the suicides following the what have I done moments. Okay, so here's the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota. This is from, I'm going to put this up. This is from Gays Against Groomers. I'll tell you that story next week. That's a little bit too long because I want to get through these, and it's already the top of the hour. And I also, for those of you who are unaware, I want to tell you this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And you're listening to SHR and KLRN Go.
Because let's be clear, this is life-affirming and life-saving healthcare. When our children tell us who they are, it is our job as grown-ups to listen.
How do you answer that? When our children, who are obviously smarter than us, tell us who they are, it's our job to listen. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Fucker. That's completely ass backwards. Your job is to protect your child. Your job is not to throw your child to the medical wolves waiting with sharp instruments in a sterile room. That's not your job, but that's how I believe clinically insane these people are. They're nuts. They're crazy, and they're dangerously violent. And they're dangerous to our kids. And that's why there's a story coming up about Rady, R-A-D-Y, Children's Hospital. And I can only hope that this is indicative of a trend of a tsunami that continues and really hurts people. Not kids. Let's stop hurting kids. I mean, you want to chop off your head when you're 18 or 21? Have at it. I really couldn't give a shit. But let's start suing every HMO, every medical organization, every hospital chain, every doctor, every nurse, every anesthetist who took and partook of every one of these surgeries. Ever see the show Botched? I don't remember what it's on, what channel, but there's a couple of doctors down in Southern California, and all they do is plastic surgery on prior surgeons who have fucked up their patients. And some of those have been, that's right, operations for trannies. So this stuff already existed. They repair what other doctors began and botched. So where the patient was under the age of 18, they should have their pants sewed off and their foundation to every building sued off. Let's sue them for billions. Let us send a clear and obvious message. Not one medical practitioner will partake again in the mental, chemical, or physical butchery of children. That's the message to be sent. None other. It's no more complicated than that. Everybody knew inherently, because they're adults, or you're a sociopath. You all knew that it was wrong to humor the parents of these embattled children. You knew it was wrong to conduct absolutely life-altering surgery, frequently life-threatening surgeries, as you just heard, on minors who could have been infinitely better served by the obvious. Hey, how about some real extensive psychiatric care instead? And let's save the kids. Now, if they want to do whatever the hell after 18 or 21, nifty. Knock yourselves out. But you did it anyway, to kids, to children. Hospitals profited, groups profited, and medical staff profited, and doctors used consensus instead of facts. It trended up, and now with luck, it's going to trend down. Every one of these evil souls completely forgot. First, do no harm. And this is another stage, another issue. inside the battle at TransCare and Rady's Children's Hospital. Administrators will likely face the Trump administration's wrath if they resurrect the program under state pressure. You know, at this point, that's almost, but not quite, that's damn near immaterial. Because I submit that if this trend continues, and I believe it will, because now there was a fiduciary gain on the front end, and there's going to be a fiduciary gain on the back end for the victims of these hospitals. And so I can only hope that this is, and I truly believe that it's a trend whose time has come. I've got a couple more stories to make sure that everybody knows about. And I say almost kind of sort of in conclusion, although I've got a few more things to display here. All you medical assholes who took part in this stuff, we're coming for you. A different set of attorneys are coming for you. You're going to have to spend a whole lot of money on attorneys. Not just one attorney. You better get yourself a horde of attorneys, because you're going to need every last damn one of them. You're going to need all those attorneys.
We might have had the biggest week ever for the movement against transgenderism. For the first time in history, a now 22-year-old woman named Fox Varian has successfully sued her doctors for sex change procedures that were given when she was just a teenager. She won $2 million in compensation. This has set a historical precedent for every young person who has been abused in the so-called gender clinic system to seek justice for themselves. 27 other lawsuits have been made aware of to the public. And
stop right there. In my time in child abuse, this wasn't trendy. So in child abuse, when I was there, children were for beating, for breaking limbs, for scalding. They were for skinning. I knew I had a case of an infant that was fucked up the ass. An infant. That's the kind of stuff the happy stuff that used to occur. And then the pedophiles that would mind fuck children. I had no idea this stuff was coming. We'd be fighting them. I'd be fighting them still over this stuff now.
there are hundreds, if not thousands more that are going to flood through the court system.
That, I believe, for the first and only time tonight, that I believe. That is for every child who has been victimized behind this evil shit.
Including my own lawsuit with Center for American Liberty that is set to go to trial. Varian alleged that she was physically harmed by a double mastectomy at just 16 years old, that her mental health was inadequately screened, that she was failed to be given informed consent by omission, and that her parents were emotionally manipulated by the threat of suicide that the doctors used to convince her and them to transition.
Okay, stop. I want to emphasize this again before I go. If you go do research on this kind of thing, you'll find that one of the results you'll get, and you can't trust AI, and a great deal you can't trust on the internet, was your children will kill themselves if they don't get this. And then as a parent, if you're still subjective in your brain to this, and you think, well, my God, I can't have that happen, then you figure out, or you think, well, all right, let's go ahead and do that. But that's the threat that's held over the heads of parents by people with agendas who want to create more toys for them. And in the process of toy creation, it absolutely lubricates the crap out of their wallets and accounts.
She had a very clear-cut case of mental health issues. She was struggling with depression and eating disorder, and she had been abandoned by her father when she was a child. All of these red flags, and the fact that she was a child, should have immediately disqualified her from going through any sex rejection procedures. And every doctor who is dealing with gender-confused children has a responsibility to steer these kids and their families in the direction of reality and safety, not permanent mutilation.
See, you're taking damaged children, small people who are damaged anyway from any number of things, a host of elements and a host of issues, massive amounts of different criteria as to how they got there and so screwed up. And you're not helping when you buy into their issues instead of helping with their issues. And then you decide that the only answer to this is the physical butchery of children. I'm sorry, let me start again. As I've said any number of times, the mental, chemical, and physical butchery of children. It's no more, no less than that. I've seen it. Evil exists. If you throw this on your children, you're evil. I played this last night, but I'm going to play this again because a white leftist chick, these people pushing this stuff, and I'm going to have to turn the volume down because it's not about volume. It's about seeing how crazy they are. This is an insane leftist white chick.
Trans people, we love trans people. Trans people belong here. We need trans people. We love trans people. Trans people belong here. We need trans people. We love trans people. Trans people belong here. We need trans people.
Now, you tell me what aspect of that isn't mental derangement. Go ahead. It obviously is. But here's the crux of the biscuit. And this occurred, this placed the crack in the wall in 2024. This originated back in the UK. This was groundbreaking. And this kind of, sort of began it all. When the UK is insane anyway. The UK loves its muzzies. But even then, in 2024, this is what they said. This is from the NIH. This is a press release from the UK government. Ban on puberty blockers to be made indefinite on the advice of experts. Existing emergency measures banning the sale and supply of puberty-suppressing hormones will be made indefinite following official advice from medical experts. And that created a fissure in the tranny creation industrial complex. And a lot of people weren't happy with that. But I believe myself that a lot of that can be sourced from 2024. I played this on Tuesday. And I want to show you what some of this crap looks like. And I want to show you how demented some of these patients are, because you can't tell me that this patient isn't absolutely mind blown. I'm going to embiggen this and start to play it to show you some things that I illustrated on Tuesday night.
So I wanted to update on my top surgery. I got revisions done in December, just last month.
Okay. This is so typical that I almost shouldn't point this out, but I will. If for no other reason than you'd need to see this. Okay, I talk about butchery. What am I talking about butchery? Well, look at the butchery on the former breasts. Look, there's a nipple. The nipple on the other side, gone. It's a tattooed piece of crap. It believes that it deserves to have a lock and chain around its neck. Great nails, I guess. I'd like to know who do you nail. And then, of course, the colored hair, the bull ring in the septum, the various piercings in the lips. No, this unit needs medical help. This unit needs psychiatric help. I'm going to turn it down and continue playing,
And it is
but I
so
want
much
to
better
show
than it
you.
was before. Like all that extra fat.
Oh, look, it's
extra
proud of all
skin
of that.
was there
The scar under
is
there.
all gone. The scarring is still pretty bad, but that's just how our body works. We scar.
The scar's
bad.
pretty bad, but that's just how our body works. And no, I wasn't going to warn you about any of this because you need to see it up in front of your face, up front and in your face. So, you know, if you come to my show, expecting warnings, except in some, I've had a few semi-egregious cases. And this is another tranny. And in this case, this tranny is mad after getting banned from competing in the women's division. Well, geez, would you possibly think that this could be a guy? And in summary, I have to say this, and I hope you concur with me. Everyone, the likes of which I know, because all my friends are sane, not saying we don't have complications and issues from time to time, and there aren't major challenges in our lives. That's true. And those are sufficiently bad and horrific when we're adults. They're hard to take when we're adults. Now, try to envision a child going through all of this, being told X, Y, and Z, and that all of these things that are trotted out in front of him or her, well, this is normal. While in fact, of course it isn't. And number two, they're kids. You're taking advantage of their immaturity, of their being juveniles. You're taking advantage of their brains, of their undeveloped brains. Males' brains don't fully develop until the age of 26. And yet, if a little boy says, I want to be a pirate, gouge out my eye, or cut off my leg, or I need tits today. Are you going to humor that? Only the insane humor that. And why is it that all these bizarroids pretty much all look the same? It's because they all have mental health issues. They are all mentally defective.
Hi, my name is Sadie Schreiner. I'm a trans athlete that competes in track and field, and today I was supposed to be competing in Boston University's Valentine Invitational. I paid the $120. They put me on the heat sheet. They accepted my entry, and I was perfectly.
Because if your boy brought this unit home to see mom and dad, I'm sure you'd be pleased.
Ready to go and drive down to Boston.
They all look the same because they are all the same. And so when you're taking individuals who in and of themselves inherently are already in an extremely fragile mental state, / they're just children and don't know any better, but they'll do what you say because they trust you. There's an inherent trust between kids and adults that is attached, and adults are taking advantage of all of that. And so I hope tonight that you understand that this is no longer a game. This is going to be very costly. And I hope it's extremely costly for all the hospitals and the organizations and the doctors and the nurses that were involved in this kind of in this kind of situations. I think your days are numbered, and I think there's a big conflagration coming, and I can only say, literally, thank God. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening tonight to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network and the munificently grandiose KLRN. Please do not tax the rig. So promotional consideration, I'm in negotiations with other promotional consideration individuals and organizations, are by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, also by Shure and Electro Voice microphones. The Arrakis company that happened to make and manufacture my mixer, and also Pratt & Whitney, the Pratt & Whitney Engine Company, manufacturing dependable engines, creating thrust you can trust. Tiaras like this one are by My Little Pony. I showed you before. I'll show you again. Look, cool. Much swag yet to come. So in any event, no guests tonight, so thanks to you for being in chat, being here listening live and in podcast. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than 10 minutes. Everyone, God bless, take care, be safe, have a great weekend. Ever of Common Sense tomorrow night.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep. Good night, everybody. Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night and good luck.
Before we go, I want to remind everybody about the SHR Media shows. Earl Jackson is on the Mission Ready Men briefing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. And then Jersey Joe, the Ever of Common Sense, is on Monday and Friday nights. He'll be on tomorrow night, as a matter of fact. 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention my good friend Sean on the Edge of Liberty, Monday and Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern. To everyone who was here tonight, again, I thank you most kindly. This really is TTFN. Ta-ta for now.